Hello, everyone, and welcome to Spaceflight Now's live coverage of the latest mission from NASA's Kennedy Space Center. I'm Will Robinson Smith, reporter with Spaceflight Now. It's good to have you with us here this morning. We're broadcasting, as we always do, from the Spaceflight Now News Bureau here at KSC. Hope you've all had a wonderful work or school week, and we appreciate you getting up early with us and being here on this Saturday morning. SpaceX prepares to send 29 more of its Starlink V2 Mini optimized satellites into a low Earth orbit. As we're getting things rolling here this morning, so we've got just about 300 of you in the chat as we're kicking things off. If you haven't already, you could do us a big favor just by clicking the like button and sharing the stream, allowing some more folks to find their way into this live launch coverage today. Our thanks to moderator Jeff Hansen for being in the chat with us, and to one of our channel members, Cumulus Granatus, as well, for helping answer folks' questions in the chat. You can help Jeff and any of the other mods who may join in this morning by following the rules of the live chat. We ask that you post your message in English so that our mods can respond as appropriate. Also, that you don't delve into overt politics or religion or use all caps. Emojis are perfectly fine. We just ask that you don't create a huge block of them, so it takes up a large percentage of the live chat space. And last but certainly not least, we ask that you treat each other with the kindness and respect that you yourself would like to be treated with, and we'll all get along swimmingly. Our Spaceflight Now editor, Stephen Young, is running the technical operations of the broadcast this morning. Photographers also standing by for this, what was originally going to be very much an overnight launch, now turning to a just post-sunrise operation. So big hat tips to Adam and John certainly this morning. If you're not following their handles on X, you can find them here on your screen. Adam is at Aburn NYC. John is at John Pisani Photo. Michael Kane is also at MT Kane Jr. Be sure to follow Spaceflight Now simply at Spaceflight Now. We're also on Threads, Blue Sky, and Facebook for those of you not on X. We're also joined this morning for tracking views of the Falcon 9 rocket and your occasional glimpse at some of the wildlife here at the Merritt Island Wildlife Refuge by our friends Chuck and Jen Briggs with C&J Images. As we're getting rolling here this morning, want to also thank our wonderful channel member community here on YouTube who make this and every other live launch opportunity possible. So thanks to folks like Michael McCrory and Teresa, St. Anthony, Parker Isaacson, and many, many others. Channel membership comes with a number of perks, including discounts at our online shop, which is shop.spaceflightnow.com. Access to member-only videos here on YouTube, access to our members-only Discord server, and of course the ability to watch all of our live launch liftoff moments from here in Florida in 4K. As alluded to, today's launch was originally scheduled to be much earlier this morning. However, SpaceX didn't bring its rocket into the vertical launch position until right around 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Starting to see a little venting there from the strong back, which is a good indication that things are starting to pick up. This type of vent is one that we don't really see much over at Slick 40. This is more characteristic of a 39A launch. And as one of you noted in the live chat, and apologies, the message went by faster than I could clock who posted it. It has been some time since we've seen a launch from pad 39A. Of course, things have been quite busy at this site as SpaceX has been building out various aspects of the Starship launch infrastructure here at the Kennedy Space Center. It looks like we're actually getting a glimpse of a satellite reentry potentially. A little hard to see with the lighting this morning. We'll see if we can ping a message maybe to Jonathan McDowell to get a little more data on what satellite that may have been. Thankfully, John Pisani was on it this morning and made sure as he was watching this to get a recording. So we're going to go ahead and get that in work and bring that video up to you as soon as we've got that ready. So as we're talking behind the scenes, the reentry was spotted right about 6:18 a.m. Eastern. That'd be 5:18 UTC. From our position at the press site here, this was looking back towards the VAB, so potentially a polar orbit satellite. High inclination, we'll say, at this point. But if Jonathan McDowell, if you happen to be in our live chat this morning, love to get your thoughts. Otherwise, we'll see if we can reach out to him a little bit later. Last little bit of housekeeping as we're just about 49 and a half minutes before the planned liftoff of this Falcon 9 rocket. If you have a comment or question about this mission or other goings on in the realm of space or spaceflight, you can use the YouTube Super Chat feature to have your comment or query potentially elevated for discussion. Of course, assuming that it is appropriate to be read aloud during the broadcast. So thanks to Michael McGrory for a couple of Super Chats. Second one, giving kudos to John for capturing that reentry. Also, thanks to K2 Hat for a $2 super chat saying, thanks for the coverage again. Hello from Miko. That is Miko, Florida, for those unfamiliar. a little clarification behind the scenes. The info in my ear was coming from Steven and John. Adam was the one behind the tracker that actually captured the reentry. So great job by the team all around getting that, coordinating that, and being able to bring it in as part of our broadcast today. Again, we're working to get that video ready for you so you can see it with a little bit more detail. In the meantime, while that is being prepared, let's go ahead and talk about what is still coming up here with the hopeful launch of the Starlink 10-51 mission in just about 47 minutes from now. In less than 10 minutes is when the SpaceX launch director is scheduled to make the call on the start of prop load. SpaceX does their readiness poll electronically, so if they're in a good position, they can take this a little bit earlier. Once the go-ahead for fueling is given, tanking of the Falcon 9 rocket begins at the T-minus 35-minute mark. The loading of RP-1, a rocket-grade kerosene, on board the Falcon 9's first and second stages. At the same time, liquid oxygen begins to load on board the rocket's booster. 30 minutes before flight, SpaceX loads a cryogenic helium onto the pressure vessels for the first stage. Same is true on the second stage a few minutes after that. The helium is important because it's used to pressurize the main propellant tanks during flight. T-minus 23 minutes is when second stage RP-1 loading wraps up. Then at T-minus 20 minutes and 50 seconds is the start of the strong back chill down. This is when SpaceX is thermally conditioning the feed lines there at the pad. We'll see this visually manifest as the big vent beginning here at pad 39A at T-minus 20 minutes and 30 seconds. This vent lasts about 4 minutes in duration, setting the stage for the LOX to flow on the upper stage of the rocket at the 16-minute mark. T-minus 7 minutes is when the chill down of the 9 Merlin engines gets underway. This involves flowing a small amount of liquid oxygen through the plumbing and turbo pumps. It helps to protect the engines from the risk of thermal shock and damage during startup. 6 minutes out, the first stage kerosene tank should be full. Then at T-minus 4.5 minutes, we'll see the retraction of the strong back. First, the clamp arms just beneath the payload fairings will open up, and then the transporter erector, otherwise referred to as the strong back, will recline a few degrees away from the Falcon 9 rocket and stay in that position until liftoff. Then at that point, it'll pull back in a much more rapid fashion to clear the way for the vertical climb of the Falcon 9. 3 minutes out, the first stage liquid oxygen tank should be full. About a minute later, same will be true on the second stage. At that point, the Falcon 9 rocket will be fully loaded with 1 million pounds of propellant. In the final 60 seconds, as we hear the call that the Falcon 9 is entered into its automated startup, that means control of the countdown is handed over from the ground sequencer to the Falcon 9's onboard flight computers, and the propellant tanks are brought up to flight pressure. The SpaceX launch director will then give their go for launch call, T-minus 45 seconds. The engine ignition command is issued at T-minus 3 seconds, and if all 9 Merlin engines are healthy and ignite as expected, the command will be given for the hold down clamps to release the Falcon 9 rocket for a T0 liftoff. Once again this morning, looking at a departure time of 7:10 a.m. Eastern. That'd be 12:10 UTC, or just about 43 minutes from now. Time now T minus 41 minutes, 47 seconds and counting. The Falcon booster that is supporting today's mission is, in fact, among the most frequently flown for SpaceX. Here's where things currently stand before the launch today. The booster that is on tap is B1069, going to be making its 28th trip to space and back. Here's a look at the bar chart comparing Falcon missions from this year to years prior. 142 so far have been completed by SpaceX, looking for launch number 143 coming up here in about 41 minutes. And it looks like Chuck's wildlife cam continues to provide nice little gator view this morning as we're cruising down to 40 and a half minutes before the liftoff of this Falcon 9 rocket. Of course, one of the benefits of where the Kennedy Space Center is situated is that it's nestled amid the Merritt Island National Wildlife Refuge. So you never know what types of critters or avian friends you might see hopping, flying, or in this case, swimming around in especially the cooler early morning hours. So, good eye, Chuck. Time now, T minus 38 minutes, 51 seconds and counting. In about a minute or so, or right about now, SpaceX should be making the call on the start of prop load. Since we unfortunately don't have mission audio at this point in the count, we'll have to make an assumption on that assessment. But once the fueling process has actually begun, we'll be able to tell based off of the frost line whether it's there or not and building on the rocket's booster that they are in fact starting to tank the Falcon 9 in anticipation of launching at 7:10 a.m. Eastern. Taking a quick peek back at our live chat, want to thank Cash Pot for a £2 super chat saying hello from Sussex, UK. Well done for the reentry. And yes, big kudos to Adam for capturing it and for John to help coordinate and get the video locked and loaded. And I believe we've got that ready. Just checking behind the scenes to make sure we're good. So let's go ahead and watch this reentry video, which starts north of the vehicle assembly building from our vantage point to the press site and goes towards the south. Again, this was spotted right about at 6:18 a.m. Eastern this morning, 11:18 UTC. Thankfully, the lighting this morning allowed for a really nice reflection of the sunlight onto these fragments as they streaked across the sky. So it made for some really nice reentry video. If we can re-rack this, if this is near the end. Okay, it should be popping back again here so we can get one more look at it at least. And for any of the orbital trackers who may be in our audience this morning, we'd love to get your thoughts and insight on this one. Time now T minus 33 minutes, 29 seconds and counting. At this point, SpaceX should be fueling its Falcon 9 rocket, assuming all is moving along on time today. It's going to be a little tricky given the fog rolling in to discern the start of fueling, though we can punch in a little bit closer. Yeah, with the fog combined with the lighting this morning, it's not going to be the easiest. Thankfully, though, there's not a ton of heat distortion between our cameras and the rocket, so that's at least one good thing going. What we're looking for is a frost line forming as the super cold intensified liquid oxygen begins to flow on board the rocket's booster. Where we're looking on the rocket is if you see where the strong back starts to taper in, right about at that level on the rocket itself is about where we start to see a frost line. We should also see a little vapor in that area as well, given the difference between the significantly colder locks on the booster compared to the much more warm and humid Florida air. So keep your eyes peeled. We'll be watching as well. quite difficult to see with the fog and the lighting, but we're fairly confident now that we're seeing that vapor that I was just mentioning, which would signify SpaceX fueling its Falcon 9 rocket this morning for a launch attempt at 7:10 a.m. Eastern, 12:10 UTC for our friends around the world. Time now, T minus 27 minutes, 52 seconds and counting. At this point in the tanking timeline, SpaceX has begun loading that cryogenic helium onto the pressure vessels for the Falcon 9's first stage. We'll do so on the second stage coming up here in the next few minutes. Our thanks to the nearly 900 of you who are with us live this morning. If you haven't already, you could do us a big favor just by clicking that like button and sharing the stream. Allows more folks to find their way into this live launch coverage. Time now T minus 25 minutes, 25 seconds and counting. Stunning sunrise shot from our friends Chuck and Jen Briggs here, who are up in the Titusville area this morning, giving us a different vantage point of the Falcon 9 rocket as we're getting ready to see it fly away from Launch Complex 39A here at the Kennedy Space Center, carrying 29 Starlink V2 mini optimized satellites into low Earth orbit. So far this year, SpaceX has launched a total of 2,600 Starlink satellites across 102 flights supporting the constellation. In Chuck's view here, we're looking at the rocket garden over at the Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex. For those of you who have not had the opportunity to visit, it's a good chance to walk through some of the history of rocketry and see some of the older vehicles now long since retired. However, over in the Gateway to Space building, which is just adjacent to the rocket park, you can find a Falcon booster that is up on the ceiling. I believe that is one of the side boosters from a Falcon Heavy, if memory serves. Plenty of rotating exhibits within the Gateway to Space as well, so I would be remiss if I tried to relay what exactly is in there right now, since it may have changed since the last time I was inside, and I don't want to give folks false information. Off to the left, the large structure that you're seeing there jutting up from the horizon, that is the fuel tank, an homage to the space shuttle era, standing in front of the Atlantis building, where inside you can find Space Shuttle Atlantis. If you have not been inside that building, I'm going to withhold speaking about it too much because it's got some cool surprises in there. I'll say it like that. And it's one that's worth experiencing for yourself. Time now, T minus 21 minutes, 26 seconds and counting. We're coming up on the start of the big vent here as SpaceX prepares to thermally condition the feed lines at the pad prior to second stage LOX load. We should see that venting from the strong back beginning in roughly 20 seconds. And there you see the start of the big vent right on time. This vent lasts 4 minutes in duration. It sets the stage for LOX to start flowing on the rocket's upper stage at about T minus 16 minutes. Time now, T minus 15 minutes, 18 seconds, and counting. At this point, the big vent has concluded, as you can, well, kind of see, I suppose. Time now, T minus 13 minutes, 40 seconds, and counting. Taking a quick peek at our live chat here. Want to thank Michael McCrory talking about the reentry video that we shared earlier, saying beautiful and amazing. Great catch. Thanks as well to X Rahim for super chat there. Appreciate the support. Thanks as well to Virginia Pruitt, one of our channel members, for a $10 super chat. Thank you, Virginia. As there's been some chatter about the re-entry and which direction it was going, let's talk about another bit of directional information and speak about the trajectory for today's launch. Long walk to get here, but here we are. The booster, once it flies away from Launch Complex 39A supporting this mission, will head off on a northeasterly trajectory on the Starlink 10-51 flight. B-1069, after stage separation, will target a touchdown on the drone ship called a shortfall of gravitas. If all goes well with this booster recovery, this will be the 434th good booster landing on a drone ship and the 131st landing on this particular vessel. SpaceX is working to certify its first stage boosters for up to 40 flights each. As previously mentioned, this will be flight number 28 for B-1069. But SpaceX also wants to get those numbers for its payload fairings as well. Following fairing separation, these halves will splash down in the waters of the Atlantic Ocean under the support of steerable parachutes. Once down in the waters, they'll be brought aboard one of SpaceX's recovery vessels, brought back through Port Canaveral, and then it's off to the Hangar X site where they will be refurbished and turned around for future missions. Just about 11 minutes on the clock now before a liftoff at 7:10 a.m. Eastern, 12:10 UTC. See, we've got some folks joining us this morning from the Jetty Park area, also as far away as looks like we've got a couple of Wisconsinites, some New Yorkers in our live chat. Let us know where you're watching from today. And if you are able to catch a view of the Falcon 9 as it makes its ascent, be sure to tag us on social media. You can find us most places simply at Spaceflight Now. Time out T minus 7 minutes, 35 seconds and counting. Coming up in just about 20 seconds now, SpaceX will flow a small amount of liquid oxygen through the plumbing and turbo pumps, helping to protect the 9 Merlin 1D engines at the base of the booster from thermal shock and damage during startup. Also want to thank Lola Grace for a very generous $20 super chat. Thank you, Lola. Really appreciate the support this morning. Roughly 6 minutes before takeoff now. At this point, the first stage RP-1 tank should be full.
Correct.
And as you just heard, and we'll momentarily see, getting mission audio now from SpaceX, as well as pad level views with, thankfully, far less fog in their camera.
Strong back lower has started.
Good call out there. Momentarily, we'll see the clamp arms just beneath the payload fairings open up, and then the large truss structure next to the rocket, the strong back, will start to recline away from the vehicle. Coming up right at about T-minus 3 minutes, we should hear a call that the Falcon 9's first stage liquid oxygen tank is full.
Stage 1 LOX load is complete.
Good call there. We should hear a similar one right at about T-minus 2 minutes regarding the LOX tank on the upper stage.
Stage 2 LOX load is complete.
With that call, the Falcon 9 rocket is fully loaded with 1 million pounds of propellant.
Ground gas closeouts.
Seeing the additional venting from the ground gas closeouts there on your screen, SpaceX releases the remaining liquid oxygen from the feed lines there at the pad.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
With that call, we are now just awaiting the SpaceX launch director to confirm they are, in fact, go for launch. Past the point where we should have heard that call now. Standing by.
Hold. Standing down due to recovery weather conditions. Launch abort.
And we have a scrub today because of poor weather in the booster recovery zone just about 30 seconds prior to liftoff. So no Falcon 9 launch today, unfortunately. SpaceX was already basically at the end of their window anyway. And they don't have the ability to hold the count even if they had more margin in the launch window. With a scrub today, that does present a very interesting possibility for Sunday to be double launch day if the booster recovery weather is cooperative for SpaceX. Unfortunately, the 45th Weather Squadron don't believe issued a launch weather forecast for this mission, so I don't have good information to provide to you on what the booster recovery outlook looks like for a 24-hour turnaround opportunity for SpaceX. SpaceX has also not issued a launch window publicly for its 24-hour turnaround time, but let's see if I can get a slightly different look at this. It looks like the window would be about 20 minutes earlier at the start. So today's window opened at 3:30 a.m. Eastern. Tomorrow's window would open at about 3:10 a.m. Eastern. Well, while we unfortunately didn't see any launch or some good views of ascent, we did get some nice surprises this morning. Some good nature videography from our friends Chuck and Jen Briggs with C&J Images. And of course, cannot forget this re-entry video. So we'll re-rack this one more time and share this with you all here before we close out our broadcast. Again, this captured by both John and Adam live. This was looking towards the VAB, coming from the north, heading south at about 6:18 a.m. Eastern, 11:18 UTC. So for those orbital tracking sleuths out there, we've posted this up on our X account. So if you can help fill in the gaps of which particular satellite this may be, we'd love to get your insight on that. Or potentially a rocket body. There's a number of things this could be, so we'll not pin it to any one thing in particular. Do want to thank K2 Hat for a $2 super chat saying, "Ah, bummer, just put my sneakers on to go out." Well, hopefully you can have a nice morning walk regardless, K2. Our thanks as well to Psychonaut69 and to Michael McRory for each gifting a Spaceflight Now membership. Appreciate that from the two of you. And to our newest gifted members, welcome aboard. We're glad to have you with us. If you haven't already, be sure to thank Psychonaut and Michael for the membership. And we hope you decide to stick around beyond the month you were just gifted. Thanks again to our friends Chuck and Jen for being on standby with us for this launch opportunity this morning. Big thanks to Adam and John for a long night that resulted in, unfortunately, no launch, but a great serendipitous moment with that reentry. Thanks as well to our moderator, Jeff Hansen, for being with us a little bit earlier in the morning, and to Cumulus Granatus for helping to answer folks' questions in the chat as well. Our Spaceflight Now editor, Stephen Young, has been running the technical operations of the broadcast today. Big thanks as well to you for being with us this morning. Tomorrow's going to be an exceedingly long day now if we've got this launch on tap tomorrow morning, in addition to the planned flight of Blue Origin's New Glenn rocket. So you can help support what will be quite a Herculean effort by our team tomorrow by clicking that subscribe button. If you haven't already, we'd love to have your support as an ongoing channel member here. That really helps support what we do here at Spaceflight Now, having that continuous support for our coverage, both live and otherwise. we're going to be tracking the progress of the New Glenn rocket throughout the course of today. Again, the launch is currently scheduled for a launch window that opens up at 2:45 p.m. and runs through 4:13 p.m. Eastern, or 19:45 to 21:13 UTC. However, it doesn't appear as though the New Glenn rocket has been raised into the vertical launch position just yet. So we'll be keeping tabs on that throughout the course of today and let you know naturally if there are any additional updates to the planned launch window for that mission. So be sure to head over to spaceflightnow.com for the very latest and keep tabs on our social channels as well, as we'll be pushing out updates about the mission today and tomorrow, and if they need more time beyond that, and into next week. For all of us here at Spaceflight Now, I am Will Robinson Smith. Remember, be good to yourselves, be good to others. We will see you next time, folks, and until then, bye bye.
Planes and doors 15108, planes and doors 15108.